afternoon from good morning, so I'll try and keep it brief. I also want you to hear from our students a little bit more than me. First, I want to ask how many prospective young people, students are in the audience? Can I just have a quick show of hands? Only young people. Okay, so quite a few. So I want to now ask everybody a question. And I want to see show of hands. So to parents and adults who are here, I want you to close your eyes and go back to school or college and think of your time as a student. So I'm going to call out the names of some feelings, and I want you to raise your hand if that matches with your experience of being a student. So for young people, think about school, being students at school, and for parents, think about any time you were a student. Okay, so the first one is excitement. How many people experienced excitement as students? Excellent. What about nervousness? Fear? Happiness? Friendship? Anxiety? Loneliness? Exclusion? Those are the things we like to talk about a little bit less. So I want to start a little bit, tell you a little bit about my own experience as a student. In school, I was a kind of weird and shy child. I loved reading, and I usually lived in my own universe, which means I often forgot to interact with other people. So I spent most of my school time in accidents, so it's okay. So as a school student, a lot of my experiences were experiences of loneliness, confusion, exclusion. I didn't really get along with other kids so much. So I spent a lot of time watching people and wondering, how do these groups work? How do these people find friends so easily? How do you find groups that understand you? You know, and how is this stuff happening, and why isn't it happening for me? And very often it was my teachers. Reba ma'am in 6th grade, who was a librarian, Saraswati Srinivasan, who was my sociology teacher in high school at Vidya Mandir, where I studied for the last few years of schooling. These are the people who I remember, who are my anchors, you know, and for me as a child, those are the people I held on to. And actually it was because of Saraswati ma'am that I chose sociology, because in sociology I found a language. I found a reliable, research-based language that helped me learn about the world, that helped me understand identity, that helped me understand people. And I was always very curious about what is it that brings us together. You know, and higher education is one such really interesting space. We all come together from so many different walks and wakes of life, and here we are somehow all rooting for the same thing. And so for me, the higher education space, what I love most about it is that I think we get to be part of one of the most important transitions in a person's life, when they move from school through university into becoming adults. And I think that is an extraordinary time to be part of their lives. It's also a very difficult time, both for the people going through the transition and for everybody else, but I think it is an incredible experience. So from the show of hands, we already know that the experience of being a student is very complex. It's difficult, it can be incredibly challenging. There's all sorts of things that are coming at us at that age, career pressures, life pressures, hormonal pressures, body pressures, emotional and mental stress pressures. It is a lot. And I just want to acknowledge that for all of the young people who are here today, all of our students who are here today, very close to their exams, I might add. It is amazing, the space that young people make, despite how much is going on for us. So give yourselves a big hand. And so what I want to say, although teaching is my first love, and the first thing that happened to me when I entered my classroom in Stella Maris, very young and full of all this idealism. I just come back from the UK and I was like, oh my God, look at all this cool stuff I learned. And I finished teaching my first class, and my students came to me and said, ma'am, we didn't understand anything. You used a lot of big words. It made us feel small. It made us feel like we were dumb. And it made us feel like we didn't know anything. And I was horrified because I was 23 years old. And I was like, oh my God, I've done the opposite of what I wanted to do. But that was the moment that I both fell in love with my students and teaching. And it remains one of the most important lessons I learned. That learning and teaching is not about what you know. It's about getting a sense of what your learners want to learn. And this has helped me instead for the 16 years that I've done this job. CVs never increase in age. You know, you submit the CV and it never, so 14 has now become 16. What I also want to say is that I firmly believe that as educators, as carers, as parents, that what we can offer to our young people, children for parents, but students and learners for us, is nourishment and space. Over the years, I've listened to my students a lot. That's something I love doing because they have so much to teach us. They don't want to be told who they are, do you? None of you want to be told who you are. But my students have always told me that they want our support while they are trying to find who they are. And that's a really important part of the work that we have to do as educators and parents. And mistakes, accidents, disappointments are all part of this journey, right? That's what I've learned, both for myself as an adult, but also for my students. And some of the things that my students have said is what they want is a firm anchor from us. They want compassionate boundaries. They want us to listen. Listen, 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 without judging, without bringing our fears and anxieties and judgments into the listening, which is a really hard thing to do. I also want to acknowledge that, and I want to tell the young people here, non-judgmental listening is really hard, especially when the people you're talking to love you and care about you and want to protect you. Okay, so the reason I'm kind of jumping between all of these things is that nurturing young people, as the saying goes, needs a village. Okay, and this village has humans, it has technology, it has animals, it has nature, trees, computers, books, it has everything. Right? It's quite a big village, actually. I feel like we should say mega city or metropolis, not village. But we'll run with that particular metaphor. At Sai, one of the things that I've sort of seen happen organically, and also something that I know that my wonderful colleagues encourage, is lots of academic and non-academic activities across batches and disciplines of students. Right, so transdisciplinary, interdisciplinary is not just something we do in academia, but also outside of it. Right, so all of the interactions, and I'm hoping that our students will talk a little bit about that. It's a beautiful thing to see. You know, first years and second years hanging out together, making meaningful relationships, making time to help each other out. You know, because we have an amazing array of students. Right, they come from so many different backgrounds. So that mixing across groups and across age groups is something that we really value here at Sai, and something our students have done beautifully, even without our asking. The second part of this village is parents. You know, I talked about offering a firm anchor. Parents and guardians are our co-anchors. You know, there's no one in the world who knows your child the way that you do. And that knowledge and that understanding is invaluable for us to be creating the ecosystem that we do. And at Sai, we're particularly sensitive and appreciative of the trust that you bring, because being part of a new institution is, you know, it's a risk. It takes a lot of courage, it takes a lot of trust, and it takes a lot of heart. And we're really mindful and appreciative that you bring all of that, because we need that too. You know, we're not doing this out here on our own, being cool academics or anything like that. You are a really important central part of the family. And so we want parents to have a vibrant and meaningful relationship with us. We want to be able to help and support each other and fill in the gaps. You know, there are times when parents can't do some stuff with their children, and that comes to us. and the other way around is also true. So we want to really recognize that this is a relationship that's ongoing and growing all the time. And finally, I want to say that we here, all the colleagues, administrative, academic, people who look after our buildings, our infrastructure, people who are making the dream of this university come to life, one day at a time. I've been here a year, and I know that although I felt like, oh my God, will this get done? I felt frustration, we all have, because in a new place that happens. But the work that I've seen over the last year is just extraordinary. And the beginning of that was when I ran into our founder chancellor, Mr. Ramani, at a school. I was teaching at a school for 1 year when I came back to India. And I was amazed because he was coming to schools to meet students and to meet teachers and principals. And I just thought, wow, who even does that? I don't think I've seen anybody do something like that. And then when I met our vice chancellor, realizing that he has this incredible policy where he just sees everybody. Everybody walks in, anybody walks in. It's an incredibly generous environment. And every colleague that I have here on the dais who I work with, everybody at this university is incredibly generous, warm, and brings such an energy. And finally, I want to say that the land that we're on, the trees, the animals, the birds, the space that we have around us, the water body that's also in the land that we occupy, this forms a really important part of this new universe that we're trying to build. And so I also kind of want to acknowledge that those elements are important for our students and for us as kind of a holistic universe that we're trying to build. It is slow work. There are lots of hiccups, things take time, but it has been truly an enriching and amazing experience. And now, without further ado, I'd like to ask for our students to come up and talk to you, because actually they're really the people that you should be listening to. Thank you so much for your attention.